How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for taking a moment with us.
No, thanks for having me. It's appreciated.
Yes. You ready to get started?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, for everybody at home, we're going to speak to Mr. James Bird from Mason Hill. Excited to have a moment with your time. Congratulations. You got a record that came out very recently, March 5th, I'm reading, Against the Wall, and I'd like to hear all about it. Yeah, tell me about the record.
Well, it's our first album, which is weird because, we've been a band for a couple of years. Like as a fan of music yourself, you know how it can be for bands. Like a lot of the grassroots bands come from absolutely like sitting in a room with maybe one other guy and saying, hey, let's make a band kind of thing, right? So that was me and Scott, the singer. Like we were childhood friends, met in high school. And I'd always played guitars, from a young age. And Scott was keen on guitar too, but he became a singer. So yeah, we just spent a lot of time together in high school bands, going up through the ranks, playing clubs to nobody. Slowly but surely, we managed to get our hands on Mason Hill, and we had to just push and play to all sorts of empty venues. Had to meet all sorts of people that joined the band and then left the band, and it's one of them where we didn't know anybody, so we had to go through it all to get the guys we've got today, and to eventually get the album we've got today. So that a lot of people say, why did it take so long? And that's one of the reasons I like to give that, because it sort of hits home that it's not just you make a band, you release an album. The bands had to grow together. The bands had to learn a lot. There was at one point where we didn't know how to record. So, it's like that. So it's basically, this album is an example of the journey that we've had so far. Because there's some songs on there back from those days when me and Scott were teenagers, and we made some tunes, and we've updated them obviously with the hopeful skills we hopefully developed. But it's just a timestamp of this band and just everything we've done to date. And now we're just excited to actually be able to have it, because for a long time people would say, great to see your band here, love the set, when's the album? And we were always like, don't know, we're working on it.
That's a great thing to hear, though, isn't it? I mean, they're acknowledging you're ready.
It was always disappointing at the same time, though, because we had that EP that we had in 2015, which was good at the time, given that a lot of those, all 4 songs on that EP were written as teenagers. But there's only so long you can keep saying that. So we're sick of that EP. We were so sick of it, and just disappointed that when people would come for an album, we had to then say, we don't have that, but how about this? It wasn't ever something we were confidently giving at that point. It ran its course.
So the old cliche is that you have a lifetime to write your first record. There's got to be a few of the songs on this album that are much more recent, that have popped up in the last year or so. Talk a little bit about, having to round out an album, deciding that you're going to make something, and then realizing you need a little bit more material.
Yeah, well, that actually did pretty much happen. We got to a point where we had Mason Hill, as you see it, with the guys that are in the band just now. And we were like, right, next thing is to make an album. And we had all the demos together. We'd rehearsed them and everything. And then this happened. We then got into a bit of an issue, which is something we can't really go too much into. But that, if not for that happening, we've all said it. We look back on that album that we potentially were about to record, and we're like, it's all right. I mean, it's okay. It's not amazing. So yeah, we managed to go back through and polish things up. And through doing that, another few tunes came out. So there's a song on there called We Pray. I think it's close to the end. We wanted it to be a single, but we don't get to decide these things sometimes. But that, for example, it's a song I remember as a guitar player, this being one of the songs that didn't have a solo in it. And I was like, that's new for me, because I always wanted solos everywhere, So, yeah.
Strange to hear from a guitar player.
Yeah, totally. I just sort of went, hey, I'll try one without a solo in, and instead I put a heavy riff in it that had a lot of meat to it. So Yeah, I mean, the We Pray was one of the songs that was a bit more modern. In fact, it came inspired from playing a game called Apex, if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
Kind of a futuristic thing. Yeah, no, there's loads of songs. There's a few songs on there, rather. I say loads. There's a few songs on there that came out a bit later. D.N.A, which is a single. We Pray. No Regret, which is the first track, I think. So yeah, there's definitely the modern day Mason Hill in there too.
Well, you've got 3 singles on this record, as far as I can tell right now: Against the Wall, Broken Sun, and of course DNA. And they look great. I mean, Against the Wall with the yellow masks and so on, and Broken Sun, the old footage you incorporated from years and years ago of you guys just sort of discovering yourself. It's interesting to see the creative side of the video incorporating personal, your personalities as much as just being fun with it. I mean, the yellow masks were, of course, very poignant. Just talk a little bit about putting those videos together.
Yeah, I mean, Broken Sun, I think, we sort of brainstormed and thought, hey, well, what can we do? And so we just asked, we've got a Mason Hill fans page on Facebook, and we just asked if anybody had any pictures, videos, send them through. So we had a good old time looking through them all, to be honest. It was good fun. There was too many to include as well, too many. So we just did that. We just put a couple of pictures in, a couple of clips. And then, of course, we were just in our homes separately filming it as well. So yeah, I mean, it's a lockdown released single, really. We did what we could, I guess.
You must be thrilled with the results, the album coming out, and the acceptance you've received. Number 19 in the UK National Albums Charts, number 1 in the UK Rock. You hope for those things. You don't ever plan for those things. How surprised were you?
Seriously surprised. I'll tell you why. Because we finished recording this album in January 2020.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was still some vocals to do, mixing and all that stuff. But in terms of us being in the studio together, that ended in January 2020 with the plan for it to release sometime, but just before summer of 2020 anyway. We thought it'd be a way. We thought we could have this album and push and get out there, do some gigs. Because we are that band, we're grassroots, so that's what we need to do. We don't have all the big support that these big bands have. We've got to go out there and play to the people, which is what we love to do anyway. So when we found that we weren't going to be able to do that, I know I speak for myself, but we definitely all had a bit of a hit. Like, we'd worked so hard for so many years on this album to think that it might not get out there as much now because we know you got a gig as a new band. We were just really gutted and quite upset and disappointed, but we picked ourselves up and carried on anyway and said, we'll give it our best shot. And yeah, we just pushed on social media and pushed and pushed. People Power came out, and then we landed 19. I mean, the day we heard we were midweeks at number 6 was amazing, because we know obviously midweek changes massively, because you've got all the streaming artists that come in and their streams are millions. Ours is thousands, theirs is millions. So we knew that would take us down a notch or two. So we were just at that point hoping, right, 6 is amazing for midweek, but let's hope we stay in the top 50. So to get 19 and just manage to stay in the top 20 was just absolutely amazing. We were just buzzing. Just buzzing. It was just a shame we couldn't really celebrate together in person, which we're still going to do. But yeah, we're absolutely amazed. And if anything, it's just motivated us massively to never stop, really. We're just going to keep going.
You also got a good response, as I'm reading. You got a good response out of France and Germany as well. Did it surprise you that the other nations were, European nations were sort of picking up your music?
Yeah, definitely, because we've not really played there. We've played in France once. So yeah, it was really cool to see, especially because we were able to see, there was a radio station in Germany called Rock Antenne, and in France, Heavy One Radio, something like that. And so they would have charts and pictures of where the band is. And we were always like top 10 or top 20. And it was really cool to see the company we were with, like bands that we all love. So it's just really great to see that, because it kind of gives you that sort of realization that whilst you're sat at home to yourself writing music, it's being accepted. So without gigs, you know, without being able to go and gig it to see a reaction, it's great to see that it's being picked up for sure.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I read that you have another single coming out actually tomorrow. Best of You, Foo Fighters cover.
Yeah,
I was a
yeah.
little surprised. I don't see that on the listing on the album. Sort of come out of left
Well,
field.
yeah, I mean, it's not on the album. It's
Yeah.
it kind of happened randomly, to be honest. We one day, you know, I was playing a version of Best of You, and I sent it to the guys, and we got excited about it. We recorded it from home, did a little video, put the video out. A lot of people liked it, so we thought, hey, why don't we release it as a streaming tune? So that's what it said. What it is. It's just going to be a streaming only single release. And yeah, it's just a song we like. It's kind of a cool version as well. It's a Mason Hill version. So yeah, it's coming out tomorrow on Spotify and Apple and all that stuff. So check it out.
I'm certainly looking forward to it. Well, you've alluded to a theme a couple of times during this interview, and it sort of goes back to the title of the album, Back Against the Wall. And I know that you guys had some issues prior to this record that you can't get into, and it's fine. That's not the question I'm asking. What I am asking, or what I'm alluding to, is that sometimes when you find yourself back against the wall, much like that song you mentioned earlier, No Guitar Solo, you find yourself having to become more creative. You have to find ways around sort of self-discovery and that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
did you find that was helpful for you as far as being handcuffed slightly before this album to sit down and actually focus on your art and your music?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for example, I think what this experience has done for us is sort of lifted the wool from our eyes, kind of thing. Like, I don't think we would have put, and this isn't because we don't work hard, we do, but I don't think we would have put nearly as much effort as we have been this past year into this, like really putting our hands into it and making sure that it's us that's been the ones like pushing and pushing. And it's not like maybe bigger bands have like huge teams behind them doing everything for them. Don't get me wrong, we've got a team, we've got great managers, but we as the five members of the band have really just came out and tried to learn how to do new things, and how can we treat the band differently, how can we interact with fans of the band differently, just all sorts of different stuff. It's either sit and just let people get annoyed and think this band just kind of isn't trying or doing much, or we try and do as much as we can. So we've all suddenly become social media geniuses overnight. Like, we've tried to learn how to film stuff and put things together, make videos from home,
Sure.
home recording, the lot, you know. But it's inspired us, it's motivated us. Like, since this album came out, I've already been on to about 5 or 6 new ideas that I think are awesome. So it's just this situation, being against the wall, having odds against you and all those kinds of things is what has just put the fire behind us and made us sort of want to just go. And to see the results is super rewarding and super motivating. So yeah, it's not all been negative, put it that way. You know, it's not great, obviously, but it does come with some positives if you look for it.
Yes, yes. Use it to your own advantage. So as far as seeing the results, you have a tour coming out. Hey, surprise!
Yeah,
Doing a UK tour toward the end of the year. Let's hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, definitely. You know, I mean, we've got our first headline tour organized in September of this year. We have to plan as though it's going to be away. You know, you've got to plan for it. So with things starting to ease a bit here in the UK, especially Scotland, we are hopeful that it is going to be something we can do in September. If things go south, tickets will remain valid and we'll just move on to when we can do it. But we're definitely going to be doing it. So it's our first UK tour. I think there's now 24 dates, which is pretty cool. At one point, I'm sure there's about 6 or 7 days in a row, which will be fine for us. We'll have a laugh. But Scott on vocals, oh dear. I wouldn't want to be that him. But it's exciting. It's a challenge. It's something new for us. And we're going to really enjoy getting out there for the first time to have an album that we can gig with. You know, to be on stage playing these songs that a lot of loyal fans that have been coming to a lot of gigs have become familiarized with. To actually know now that everyone in the audience just about is at least going to have heard some of these songs now recorded is going to be wicked, because I can't wait to do that thing bands do where they stop the song and let the crowd sing.
Do a little sing along. Yeah, yeah. It can be
Totally.
quite a challenge going out and introducing your material to an audience that doesn't have a clue. And, you know, some nights they stand and stare at you, and other nights they're all excited and you really don't know. And that, it's difficult. It's difficult. I understand exactly where you're coming from.
That is the history of our band to date. Pretty much, because we've had one recorded EP. So yeah, that is pretty much us.
So as far as 2022, I would imagine you're hoping to get on some of the festivals.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's another thing that I guess that we all, not only us, but many other new bands need to sort of deal with, is the fact that these festivals have been postponed. So all the bands that were supposed to play last year, supposed to play this year, are being moved forward. So everyone else is like, hey, we're ready. We just need to wait for our time, really. We are going to be hopefully getting added some. We already have been approached by some, so we'll see how that goes. Aside from festivals, though, I know many bands obviously really hold festivals highly, but for us just now as well, it's about going to like Germany, as we mentioned earlier, who's been listening to us now. It's about us getting to France as well, hopefully to the States at some point. So for us now, what we want to do is we want to go do our own gigs. We want to tour with other bands. So that's what we're kind of mainly looking at the minute. We're trying to see if that's something we can sort out and start getting ourselves into these new territories. And when we do that, we'll go back straight away a month later and do our own gigs. You know, I think what we've realized now is we're ready to just go full steam ahead, you know, and not stop. We have each had conversations with our managers on Zoom chats and stuff, planning for next year. And all of us are just saying, look, as soon as next year comes, as soon as we can gig, we don't want to be sat. We literally are happy to go in hostels, eat beans out of a little pot, and with our bare hands, we'll do it. We just want to go. So we're ready, man. We're ready.
We're looking forward to seeing you. That's for sure. That's all the questions I have today, James. Is there anything I missed? Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, not really. I mean, that was perfect. I love the questions. I love chatting to you. The UK tour, the album. I'm glad you like it. Hopefully you like it. I hope you do.
Yes, don't give me that look. It's a good album. It really is.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, actually, I'll just point out one of my favorite songs briefly, because I mentioned that we had done these tunes, some of them when we were younger. Out of Reach was one of those. Mm-hmm. And we adapted that 2 years ago. We updated it, and that was one of my favorite songs. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Oh, that's cool. No, it's you don't often get that from a band to say, well, I really like this song. You know, I hope everybody else does.
Well, I treat them like my babies. It's unfortunate because you can only have like 4 singles. But I'm like, but listen to the other one too. I mean, we didn't want to make an album where we disliked any of the songs. We tried to make every single song a good song, which is also different from the last, rather than some bands that maybe put 4 amazing singles out and then the rest is kind of like, so
we'll fill it up with something.
All subjective though, of course, I know that, but hopefully people enjoy it anyway. That's the point. That's why we do it. It's to hopefully let people enjoy us as a potential new rock band to be reckoned with. We'll see.
Well, everybody hit the social media. You know where you can find these guys, and with some luck, they'll come into the States, and we can see some live shows as well.
Yeah, and listen to some Scottish guys talk in the mic. Obviously, my accent is a bit different. I am from England, but I've lived in Glasgow my whole life, more or less. But wait till you hear the others.
I've spent a little bit of time in Scotland, and I was somewhat surprised that some of the accents there were, as I would expect them to be, rather heavy, and other accents not really that much at all. And that was interesting for me.
Yeah, no, I'm complete agreement with you. It can be difficult for us sometimes.
Okay, well, you have a great day. I appreciate you spending a moment with us.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks again. Great to meet you and great to chat to you.
Have a good day. Bye.
Cheers, buddy. Bye-bye.